At the height of her success, Sophia chose pride over the woman who had given her life. She humiliated her mother in front of her elite friends, unaware that this decision would haunt her forever. But when everything fell apart, regret came too late. Time could not be turned back. How did karma catch up with her? Watch until the end, and before you continue, comment what time it is in your local area. The luxurious restaurant was filled with the clinking of crystal glasses and the murmurs of refined conversation. The air carried the scent of fine wine and exquisite dishes. At one of the best tables sat Sophia, draped in an elegant gown, adorned with dazzling jewelry. Her husband, Daniel, and their high society friends engaged in casual chatter about trips to Europe, major investments, and the latest jewelry collections. Then, an elderly waitress approached their table, carrying a tray with slightly trembling hands. When her eyes met Sophia's, she froze. "Sophia? My child, is it really you?" Her voice trembled with hope. The table fell silent. All eyes turned to them. Sophia stared at the woman. That face, it was too familiar. But something inside her refused to acknowledge it. She took a slow breath, then gave a small, dismissive smile, one that resembled a sneer. "I'm sorry? You must be mistaken. I don't have a mother who's a waitress." A few friends chuckled, while others exchanged awkward glances. The elderly woman's face fell, but she forced a weak smile. "Sophia, it's me, your mother," her voice barely a whisper. "Do you really not recognize me?" Memories flooded Sophia's mind. The hardships. The tiny house. The borrowed clothes. Her mother working tirelessly as a waitress just to feed them. But Sophia had grown tired of that life. When she got the chance to leave for the city, she took it, promising to return with a better life. But she never looked back. Sophia exhaled, setting down her wine glass. Her voice was cold. "Listen, I don't know who you are. If you're just a waitress, do your job properly. Don't make a scene here." Her mother's gaze dimmed. She lowered her head, forcing another weak smile. "I'm sorry. I must have been mistaken." She turned and walked away, gripping the tray tightly, as if holding on to a pain too heavy to bear. Daniel glanced at his wife, a slight frown on his face. But he said nothing. Sophia pretended not to care. She lifted her glass and let out a small laugh. But as the wine touched her lips, her hands trembled slightly. And for reasons she couldn't explain, her chest felt empty. That night, their home felt unusually silent. Sophia sat on the couch, still dressed in her elegant gown. Daniel stood by the bar, pouring himself a drink. He turned to her with a questioning look. "That woman, who was she?" His tone was calm but sharp. Sophia stiffened. She forced a casual smile, leaning back. "Just a waitress," she said lightly. "I don't know her." Daniel raised an eyebrow, watching her closely. "Really? Why?" She let out a small laugh. "Do you think I have a connection to some old waitress? I don't even know her name." Daniel didn't press further. He simply shrugged, took a sip of his drink, and walked to the bedroom. The moment the door shut, Sophia's smile vanished. Her breath felt heavy. Her fingers clenched the fabric of her expensive gown, as if trying to hold on to something slipping away. She stood up and walked to the large mirror in the corner. Her reflection stared back at her. And then, she saw it. Her mother's face. Once filled with love, now weary. Once full of hope, now only sorrow. Memories came crashing down. Her mother working tirelessly to put her through school. Going hungry so Sophia could eat. Those wrinkled hands, hands that had once fed her with such care. And tonight, she had pretended she didn't know her. All for the sake of pride. Her eyes burned, but she refused to cry. "No," she whispered. "I made the right choice. I can't go back." She took a deep breath, lifting her chin. But deep inside, the guilt festered, growing, haunting her. Years passed. And Sophia's world collapsed. Daniel was caught in a major business scandal. His company went bankrupt. Their mansion was seized. The cars, the jewelry, the luxury, all gone in the blink of an eye. Sophia, once respected among the elite, became invisible. Friends disappeared. Party invitations stopped. With no millionaire husband to define her, she was nothing. She searched for jobs, but doors slammed in her face. No experience. No skills. No sympathy. Until, in desperation, she found a job opening for a waitress. Hunger gnawed at her stomach. Her pockets were empty. Pride had long since shattered. She applied. When she stepped into the restaurant, her breath caught. This place? She recognized every corner. The scent of the food. The clatter of dishes. It was the same restaurant where her mother had worked. But now, it was grander, more successful, more renowned. She approached an employee and asked, "Who owns this restaurant now?" The employee smiled. "It used to belong to a kind old woman. She built it with hard work. But she passed away last year. Sophia's world crumbled. Passed away? No. No, it couldn't be. Her legs weakened. Her breath hitched. She wanted to deny it. Desperately, she rushed to the kitchen, searching for something, someone. But there was no one. Everything had changed. Her mother was truly gone. Her gaze landed on a framed photo on the wall. It was her mother. Wearing an apron, smiling gently. Beneath it, a small inscription read, "To those who work tirelessly, never give up. Love is more precious than gold." Sophia's hands trembled. Her knees buckled. She collapsed onto the floor, silent tears streaming down her face. Day after day, Sophia lived in endless regret. Every morning, she returned to the restaurant. Sitting in the corner. Waiting. Waiting for her mother to appear. Waiting for a second chance. But it never came. Time could not be turned back. She stared at her mother's photo, wishing she could speak to her, apologize, tell her how much she missed her. But it was too late. Her mother was gone. And now, Sophia had taken her place. She was finally hired as a waitress. In the very restaurant she once looked down upon. Every day, she served customers with a bitter smile. She stood in the same spot, holding a tray with trembling hands, enduring the same dismissive stares she once gave her mother. No one recognized her anymore. And she didn't care. Because nothing was more painful than being haunted by the greatest regret of her life, turning her back on her mother when she had the chance to show love. She had learned, in the cruelest way, that wealth could disappear, status could crumble. But a mother's love was irreplaceable. Now, she lived in solitude and sorrow. Nothing remained. Except tears that could never erase her greatest sin. This story teaches us. Wealth and status don't last forever, but a mother's love is priceless. Never let pride make you forget the ones who sacrificed everything for you. Because regret always comes too late,